Cherie Stanley, a Muslim flight attendant who worked for ExpressJet, was suspended for a year for refusing to serve alcohol to passengers based on her religion. Now, the Huffington Post explains Stanley approached her superiors in June about how she could avoid serving alcohol to passengers because she recently discovered that Islamic law forbids it. The airline told her to make a deal with fellow flight attendants so they could provide the beverages. The arrangement seemed to be working smoothly until a coworker complained to the airline in early August that Stanley had been delinquent in her duties because she refused to serve the cocktails. The complaint also noted that Stanley had a book with foreign writings and wore a headdress. So now, since this complaint, ExpressJet has placed her on unpaid leave for a year, and they have allegedly threatened to fire her as well. Now, her attorney, Lena Masri, said that this is unlike the Kim Davis case because Stanley is not a government official, and she explains, what this case comes down to is no one should have to choose between their career and religion, and it's incumbent upon employers to provide a safe environment where employees can feel they can practice their religion freely. So to all of Kim Davis's supporters, how does that cognitive dissonance feel? I don't see Mike Huckabee, I don't see Ted Cruz, or anyone rallying behind this woman. Oh, wait, I forgot. So when Christians make the religious liberty argument, it only applies to them and not Muslims as well, right? That's ridiculous. Now, when it comes to whether or not this woman is right or wrong, she's completely wrong. This isn't a matter of basic rights. If you can't do your job, then you have to find a new job. It's very, very simple. I think that her job did the best that they could to accommodate her. Although it's probably the case that the person who complained was motivated by bigotry and was an Islamophobe because she had an objection to, quote, foreign writings and whatnot, she still had the right to complain because she wasn't doing her job, and that is burdensome. So I think that although I disagree with the Islamophobic objection, still, you can complain if your coworker is not doing their job. I think that's very rational, because why should you take on more of a burden because of someone else's religion? So if you're a flight attendant, your job isn't defined by you serving alcohol, but certainly that's an integral part of your job. So if you can't perform an integral duty, then why should you be protected in that position? Why shouldn't your employer be allowed to fire you? Your holy book says that you aren't allowed to drink alcohol. That doesn't mean that if you serve alcohol to your passengers that you are therefore complicit in drinking alcohol. That's absurd. So it's your interpretation that is pretty arbitrary to begin with. And furthermore, even if it were the case that your holy book directly said that you can't touch or serve alcohol, well then you can't work in that position. It's extremely simple. It's really a slippery slope. So by this standard, if a Jewish subway worker had to have someone else make sandwiches for customers every time someone wanted bacon or ham, well, that would be extremely burdensome on both the employer and the other employees. The same as if a Walmart employee refused service to someone anytime they wore clothing of mixed linens. They'd be like, no, you know what, I can't help you because you're wearing two different fabrics, so hey, Jim, you're going to have to ring these people up. It's the same as if a Mormon Starbucks employee said they could only serve decaffeinated beverages because Mormonism prohibits them from drinking caffeine. It's the same exact thing. That would be ridiculous and extremely, I'd say, overly burdensome to the employee and, again, the employers as well. I used to be a store manager at Blockbuster. Now, do you think that I would be able to refuse to rent movies to customers if I had an objection to R-rated movies? Furthermore, what if we flipped that and I said that I didn't want to rent religious-themed movies to customers because of my secular objection? Oh, come on. That would be absurd, right? We can't carve out religious exceptions for individuals that are arbitrary. We have to treat everyone equally, so religious people shouldn't get special privileges just based off of their interpretation of their holy book. Now, if you're still not convinced by those examples, let's actually substitute alcohol with something else. Let's say that she found out that the Quran also prohibits her from serving gay passengers. Then what? It's the same argument that Christians use. So you have to draw the line somewhere, and I think that this is really ridiculous. Her job is not forcing her to drink alcohol, nor is it prohibiting her from practicing her religion. I think that they treated her fairly well. I mean, she was allowed to wear her hijab. She was offered the accommodation, granted the employees that she worked with would actually help her out. So, again, we've got to be objective here, and we've got to say, this is a little bit too far. So even though this woman is not a government official, this case is very similar to the Kim Davis case. Refusing to serve alcohol doesn't make her a bigot, as is the case with Kim Davis, because she doesn't want to issue marriage licenses to gay people, which is inherently bigoted. But it's still insane to say that because your religion says you can't drink alcohol, you're still guilty if you serve alcohol. So the bottom line is that if you can no longer fulfill the duties of your job based on your arbitrary interpretation of your religion, well then you gotta find a new job.